Sue, start it off.
Sure. Oh, election of chairman.
Why don't you call the meeting to order? Since
Oh,
Yeah,
we'll call this meeting to
Since
order
Cindy was for.
at 3:09. Okay, first thing on agenda, election of chairperson.
I'll nominate Jay if he's interested in chairing this because he already chairs the utility committee. Kind of the same, one the same.
I was gonna say, is that what sounds concurrent, but since we had it last time, otherwise I'll do it, but that's up to you. Since the city had it last year.
Yeah, I will definitely take it the next time. I'll nominate myself the next time.
yeah, we usually make the one that don't make it to the meeting is the one we usually put in charge.
Well, since-
Right?
I would say let's stay in the order since it was
City
the
last
city
time,
before, so.
what's down, so.
Yep, I
Susan?
second Jay.
No, I nominate you.
Well, but when I'm not here because I'm going back to Michigan for a couple of months. And,
Well, Jerry,
you know, so I'm going back and forth, so.
Jim can do it.
we need a second on Jerry.
Second on Jim.
Jim,
Second on Jim. I'll second whoever.
You guys are making it really hard to keep the minutes here.
Okay, so we have two nominations, one for Jim and one for Jerry. All in favor of Jerry, say, raise their hand.
Hi.
Jerry, your chair.
well, thank you very much. Just like you say. Okay,
We get an acceptance speech?
you heard. All right, approval of SAC meetings from November 1st, 23. Who was here at that time? There was.
So moved.
So your second?
I wasn't here for the November 1st.
I don't think I was either, was it?
It was-
No,
That's the one,
I came back.
that's the one you called in.
Oh, okay, I'll second it then. Any additions, deletion, corrections? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye,
We have abstentions from City of Port Orchard.
right. 3 abstentions, I assume,
Yes.
Yeah, I'll sustain.
unless you want to break law the first meeting. Go ahead.
Okay,
All right. Third item, CIP load replacement.
All right, some of you guys missed out on the capital projects for last year, because you're new or returning here. So we had a capital improvement for our generator load bank replacement, early 2023. The lead time on the load bank was about 50 weeks. So, we went ahead with the contract, purchased it, and it delivered, in February, the end of February of this year. And that, so it's been installed, and it's online since February 29th. So that project has been completed for 2023. Then we have, let me just go down the list.
Yeah.
All
Sure, take over.
right. All right. We have 2024 capital projects, the list of them here that were approved last year. So just an update on all of them, and I'll just go down the list. The first one was the electric switchgear replacement. When we have power failure, we have this automatic transfer switch that comes on and puts everything on generator load when we have power failure. So this was also original installation that kind of coincided with that load bank replacement. Sometimes we have failures, it's hard to find the parts for it. So we got a couple quotes on it, and I'm waiting for one more for this automatic transfer switch, and it comes in under the budget, which is amazing for the first quote that I got. 20-week lead time on all the transfer switches currently. So it looks like we potentially could have that project completed this year if we get enough bids and select a bidder on that. I'm awaiting a third company right now to come on to the site visit for an estimate. Then we have the grip pump replacement. We've had a grip pump fail and we just have never replaced it. So we kind of have been using one from another area, and I wanted to replace it. So we went out for multiple competitive quotes, and we received 3. We have selected, responsible bidder. We're waiting board approval to proceed with that, and that'll be installed. That also has a 19 to 20 week lead time on the grip pump, so hopefully we get that installed this year also. That'll be done in-house. We have a fine screen replacement. We have some Parkson fine screens, like screw screens, that were installed. I believe they replaced some commonutors during the MBR upgrade in 2005-06. And they're costly each year, a lot of maintenance, the way that we have set up. It's really all that would fit in there at the time. But the cost of operating them and maintaining them is pretty expensive. It's our brushes, we do change them twice a year. It's about $10,000 a year for both screens, just replace them. And then we're doing a lot of manual, like pulling them apart, having the Sawzall. The compaction zone is kind of, just doesn't work for what we have. So we have a lot of concrete erosion around there. We doing some repairs on some odor control and trying to find short circuits. So I had a couple companies out come and do a bid on replacing those fine screens. We got a couple quotes that are gonna, one's over budget, one's under. So we'll have to go out to bid on this because of the costs. And so first couple quotes that we received already have been same thing, about a year lead time on fine screen. So so this is one of those that's looking to go into next year.
Morning, can you go back for a second?
Yeah.
Grip pump replacement on the two other projects you talked about that's been under, the grip pump replacement.
The grip pump is, yeah, so it's well under.
Well,
Yeah, it was the lowest one, and it was a really good bid. So for our budgeted amount, we bid budgeted 35,000 for the grip pump, and that this bid came in at like 25.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the other ones were 49,000 on one pump and like right around 35 on the other one. So
Where do these pumps go? They go
for
in the one, where do they, are?
in the primary, so you have the headworks where those screens come in, really below there.
Okay, I was wondering if it was there or the other one. I was.
Yeah, they're down on the lower level, kind of in the basement. When you look down, you see them sitting down there. So then we had listed concrete structural repairs, couple problem areas we have at the plant. We have an expansion joint that's actually working. I think during the Nisqually quake back in the early 2000s, the expansion joint moved and it's pushing some CMU block at the top. It's popping it out, so it's going to have maybe like a mason come in and try and pop the blocks out and try and fix them. In the same spot, also the sidewalk has sank for maybe 20 feet. So I had a couple companies in giving me estimates and really overestimated. So I haven't addressed it because of the weather. I guess it hasn't been a priority, just with everything else going on the concrete structure. So I don't have any further updates on that.
So, I'm sorry for asking questions.
Oh, that's all right. I like
It's been-
questions.
It's been a while. So I mean, since this was back in this one, like, has it continued to shift, or is it just something that, hey, it's time to get it fixed?
I think it's shifted, and so the expansion joint is still good. We have like this expansion joint sealant that flexes really good. We redid like a deck coating up there. It hasn't torn at all, but just at the top where it's settled, you have these CMU blocks that are kind of decorative,
Right.
on top of the concrete slab that are just kind of popping out, and that's it. It looks like maybe you can go pop one out with your hand. And then the sidewalk also there. We had the asphalt done and was still dropped on the sidewalk a couple inches at the lowest in some spots. So starting to address it.
The little sidewalk that goes in the sidewalk that goes.
That just goes along the small driveway that goes all the way out. There's a good drop for a good section of it, so.
Maybe get one of those slab jacks, whatever.
So
I
slab
have,
jack,
I have a question.
I did look into slapjack and they just come and drill holes and inject stuff, so. So it's still break, they tell you your concrete's gonna break,
It's still
and so you're gonna have to replace it, so. Just the easiest thing will probably be rip it out and then re-pour right there.
In Longview, we had a piece of equipment called a sidewalk sucker. That we could lift a panel on the sidewalk to do a repair and then put it back. But they used it to raise where things had settled as well.
You still got connections down there?
No,
Well,
but if we
I
had,
have, I have a question. What's the dollar figure, for projects that requires you to come before the committee? I know on council there's a dollar figure that can't be spent. What's the one for this committee?
Oh, that,
Nothing, it's done through the budgetary process only.
Oh, okay.
And if we did have to go over the budget, then we come to this committee to get approval. But we never had to since we started this second.
Right, yeah, no, yeah, some of these projects I was looking at thinking, looks like routine maintenance over years, so I didn't know if that's just something that,
What is the approval from is our board, since we're managing the plant, if it gets over, what's the dollar figure, then it comes back to us,
oh, that's what I was wondering, okay.
make a decision. I mean, he's the one who knows what's going on, and of course, we go through Randy, and if it's over what was budgeted, then we have to figure out where we're gonna get it out of the budget.
Yeah,
at the meetings, just to let you know, Eric and Heidi, at the meetings. At each meeting, Marty reports on what he's accomplished toward that CIP plan every year. So that's what he's doing, is reporting on his CIP projects that were approved.
oh, now I'm following you, okay,
Okay, okay.
yeah, it's already budgeted the previous year, and then I just update.
Yeah, at October, November, we get the budget and then the budget.
yes,
comes to the City, and once the budget's approved, then that's their authority, that's his authority. It's a little bit different than the cities.
yeah, perfect, makes sense.
All right. So we're on to the aeration, upgrades, controls, a lot of nutrient stuff coming out in the world, as you guys know. So we did some trials through the years and had Jacobs do some engineering reports, and we're getting a kind of a elevated number of CBOD loading in our plant. So we've had a capacity study on the MBR, and I guess the least expensive method of increasing our capacity at the plant is adding additional cassettes in the vacant slots that we have for the MBR, which would also help with nutrients and stuff. So some of the focus was we don't have adequate air for the MBR. We have a blower that works for both trains, and we don't have enough aeration. The blower maxes out, can't provide enough air for the train. So just kind of like some I guess we can't add 8 more cassettes and run off the same blower in the same aeration setup. So that's why we budgeted. We have the grant money available through Department of Ecology. So we kept that in mind when budgeting for the blower aeration upgrades. So that's what it is. I don't know what direction we're going. I talked with the engineer a couple weeks ago with Jacobs, trying to get them to come up with some pricing on or some design on the type of aeration that we could have in those aero strips. Turn out to be really expensive these days, and they changed the membranes 3 different times now. And so listening to TEC, the previous reps, they're losing like 20% efficiency every 1 to 2 years on the aero strip. So we're actually going into the basins every year now and doing a physical clean on all of them. which is a lot of labor, it's a lot of process upset. So we're trying to look at a different way. I haven't got any budgetary pricing on engineering. We did budget for a little bit of engineering. Trying to get a lot of that together to see like where can we go on the aeration portion of this if we add 8 additional cassettes to the MBR. Can we get a similar size small blower that we have and just run one per train? So there's a lot hanging out there still on that. And it's kind of in the works. I don't really have a lot except for I got a lot of preliminary stuff going on for the aeration controls. And the same kind of goes for the blower replacement, MBR blower replacement, same thing. You know, you need to have the blower to supply the air to these diffusers, whatever you're using to provide the oxygen transfer for these cassettes, and the MBR blower replacement is either of these can be something that we get the grant funding from Ecology because they're both for nutrient reduction. We're trying to maximize that. Any questions on those two? Because that was a lot, and I could go a little further on those.
I'm glad we had a tour of the, like,
Yeah.
otherwise I would be so lost.
Oh, yeah. I
But
make
this-
little plans. Helpful, be it.
Yeah,
In your opinion, is the MBR still a viable way to go after?
I love it, honestly. So I know that the conventional side is the cheapest way to go because everything really gravities, right? We have a lot of nutrient loading that's kind of hard to treat. We have a lot of surge flows. So a lot of times it's we do a majority of our labor at the treatment is on the conventional side. You know, whether it's all the labor of hosing, cleaning, doing all the maintenance on that. So it seems like it's the cheapest way to go for things. It's just a lot of operation compared to the other side. You know, you have your energy usage is pretty good for the MBR, but we did use it a lot last year and didn't notice an increase aside from the increase in the kilowatt costs for PSE. So I like it because it does provide the best treatment. You know, and it takes a lot of labor out of the process.
It's simple to run. I mean, to be truthful, I could run, I don't have a license to, but I could run a membrane plant. Activated sludge is complex to stabilize it.
Make sure the bugs are just
Yeah,
so.
right,
Yeah.
there's a lot of testing in the lab to keep that thing running. And then knowledge from the operators to know what to tweak to make it better.
Yeah.
It is complex.
So the MBR, you really can take a lot of hit off of it. So the problem with it is it wasn't really designed for a majority of it. It was designed to be like a redundant unit to give us some capacity and so now we're at that stage since it's really coming on 20 years old where we have to start putting something into it if we're going to be utilizing it more because
Well, when you
That
have
was the
after
reason my
20
question
years,
is
you
after
start breaking down, you
it's
start replacing them.
initial life is still the best way to, in your opinion.
Yeah, so we did do the CIP 2018, the cassette replacements. So there's all new cassettes in there as of 2018, 20 new cassettes. We replaced a lot of the valving in there. We went down there at the time and replaced any of the broken arrow strips. And now we've had 3 of the old original flight pumps fail within the last few years. Well, I have one in the shop right now and repair costs are $20,000. So versus new 50,000. So I went with the repair this time because we do only use it as a redundant 20% flow or during upset times. But like I said, it is, we've gotten quotes from Veolia now, or Suez or GE on replacing the 8 or adding the 8 additional, and they're about $500,000 which seems like a lot. But when you talk about expansion and not, ceasing all operations, it is the most cost-effective way to go for treatment if you want to, increase the loading. I mean, if you go to do some upgrades to the conventional side, it's gonna be a major overhaul of some stuff to go that way, I believe. You know.
And we don't have much land
Mm-mm.
to do much more.
Well, I just asked, like, I remember years ago, there was discussion about, putting in scalping plants. There again, because of the restriction of the area we have to deal with, where if we had, thousands of acres, that'd be something different, but I only ask the question because I'm just, what do you think in your best professional long range? I don't even feel like we're going MBR and that's always gonna stay MBR, or if you, in your opinion, judging is, maybe if we gotta wait for MBR, but if MBR is the way to stay, then that is.
Well, so I'll say the MBR is the way to go for the nutrient reduction, limiting to the Puget Sound. But we also have, and so when you talk about the scalping plants, we do have the influent CBOD loading that's getting close. And so that's where you would talk about scalping plants prior to pretreatment, prior to coming into the plant, or you would, like I said, that's where the other 8 cassettes come in. You would increase your capacity so that you would break away from that 85% CBOD loading for a minute to give you a chance to budget better, knowing, hey, we're probably going to be in this, in the next 5 years for $1 million on, 8 cassettes, this blower, the aero strips. But who knows, that might get us
So
8
do
years.
we have room in the blower, where the cassettes, or where the cassettes are, do we have room for 8 more?
Yeah, we
Or
have,
We have to,
no, we do, we actually have 4 slots per train.
oh,
And then, speaking with Veolia, they actually design them now to where our basins are so deep. They said we can even increase it and put cassettes under the cassettes.
We
pretty
go,
fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but explain what COD is.
CBOD is like the, day 0 to day 5. We use CBOD because we use nitrification inhibitor. So it's a removal that we have to meet. And I think our CBOD load is like 4,500 pounds per day average. I don't even know off the gate, but I think it's like 45-16 or something. And so we have this loading. I think there was an agreement with the outfall years ago that you will not exceed, no matter what the population growth is here, or you will not exceed this amount of loading to the Puget Sound. And so that's how the NPDES was set up. And so the CBOD loading is just the carbonaceous BOD, and it's biochemical oxygen demand. It's a depletion. I think they started it did they go back to the Nile or what river? That's how
In layman's terms, you talk about the fact that
It's
when you
food.
say COPD, it's the fact that the water that we're kicking out into the bay it's oxygen deprived. You can only put so much out of it at a time.
Yeah.
Is that kind of
Yeah, if you think of it, so a real simple
Yeah.
analogy would be like you go to a buffet, right? And all the buffet line is CBOD, but the restaurant is limited how much of that can go into the garbage. So they have to figure out a way to have that food consumed through the process before they can put the remainder into the garbage. And that's what the plant does. It removes as much of that food source as it can, so that there's into the seed one.
You think we'll ever?
Yeah.
You have a question, I'll do it next.
Okay, so my question would be, so in the budget forecasting, is this something, something you projected in the out years of adding the additional cassettes?
right.
So right now, this is just more of an update of this coming down the road with the buffet line. Nice analogy, by the way. But, yeah, but I'm just saying, so, because when I left 4 years ago from it, I remember that you had an out year projection of the capital budget, almost, I want to say it was 10 years.
We did 20 year.
20 years, that was it. Yeah, so this is something that's in the capital budget already for the expansion. It's just when you bring it online.
25 or 26 for the first of those.
Yeah, and so that's actually why I thought the aeration control back here, need the air and we need the blower. if we get those additional
That's-
consents first.
Yeah.
Because we get the consent, and we can't provide the air.
That makes perfect sense.
So that's what these are in there for this year in hopes of having that done. And we did the last blower ourselves. So I just,
Could, Jackie, I don't know if you have it, could you get us a copy that we each can have of the capital budget?
Of the budget. I was just pulling that
Yeah,
up.
so-
Gee.
Yeah, because we can make copies and that would give us a little bit more, you know, what's coming down the road.
Would you like me to send it to you electronically, or would you like me to ask staff to copy it?
I'm a paper guy.
Okay.
Sorry.
Electronics, right?
And Eric, you're gonna be there tonight, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, then I'll
Yeah.
give you a copy there then.
email it is.
No.
Now, my question, with the thing, that, so obviously, we're gonna keep growing and growing as a city, from 5 or 20-year plan or whatever. Will this plant, will that be a problem though? Because you can only have so much going out to the bay, but our, city is gonna keep growing.
Well, so there's a finite capacity plant, and Commissioner Lundberg's comments about scalping plant. So what scalping plant would do was basically, we would take a scalping plant, maybe one in the city and one in the district, before it ever got to the plant. So basically what we'd be sending is a bunch of teenagers in to eat that food before it ever got up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Coming into the plant.
Exactly.
I'm not quite sure I've heard of that before.
I still have a hard time calling it food. So I didn't
I
even
know, I
know.
was gonna.
A bug bucket.
Yeah,
But the other thing we have going for us is that we got the money for it. We've got our rates where we need them for quite a while because we paid off the loans. So that's a monstrous thing for us. We're way ahead where we were from before, where we had to go for bonding. Or Public Works Trust Fund to be exact, but we should be able to do this with what we have without any, well, hopefully any bonding. So financially, we'll be in good shape.
And my question was just futurist, because it's like, he's talking about updating blowers and this and that,
Exactly.
and if you are updating it, the idea is, well, you're updating them for what result? And the answer is, like you said, but the city doubles. Well, the city double, one, where do you have enough water and water rights to double the city? And then you do, then how do you get rid of all the waste and the same thing? And then it gets down to EPA says, well, you only push out so much effluent out into the bay. So then you're going like, well, then what do we need a secondary plan, or do we just build up and
And if I had to take a guess, water rates are gonna be our biggest problem. I mean, looking at it, with sitting from sewer and water, I think water's gonna be the monstrous one for us. Of course, we've reduced the per household, but, still, there's gonna be a limit to our water problem before we have to really worry about the amount of, the scalping will be good because it'll be higher concentration as we make our systems tighter. That's what, water rights is what I'd be more concerned.
and not to go off the task here, because we can talk for hours and everything.
Yeah.
But we've been talking also about the problem that's arising at the last meeting, a couple meetings.
Yeah.
And the city has the same thing, it's the new legislation that allows people to put these little small units in those mini houses.
ADUs.
But then what hasn't been addressed is, where's that extra water coming from? Because
Yeah.
you've done all your previous planning with
Mhm.
X being the number of houses there, now all of a sudden you can have, theoretically, 3 or 4 times many people there, so there's greater need, so now how do you? It's always,
How do you meet
it's always
your
that back
money
part everyone looks at
charge?
when they go, that's, it's more high density in here, we're like, well, yeah, but then how do you serve the high density? Oh, well, that's, just,
And who pays?
and there it is.
What we always knew is build out is no longer build. the problem.
Yeah.
You know,
all the planning that's been done, and I'm assuming for the city too, but all the planning that's been done for decades for West Sound, it's kind of going out the door, such as legislative change. You know, we run a line down the road, say we run a 6-inch water, we know that at max, the demand is going to serve so many properties, but the property base historically are not at max demand. And now you have these saturations that happen on these properties, which is gonna put that at max demand, which means the infrastructure you have is not gonna be sustainable, which means that because you're not collecting any new, what do you call them?
PFCs.
GFC, you're not gonna be collecting any money to replace that infrastructure, so you're gonna have to do it in rates and, regular revenue. That's gonna be a huge challenge because the current ratepayers are not gonna like the idea that rates are going to go up substantially to compensate for legislative changes.
Hmm.
Yeah, so.
Interesting. Well, and also, I mean, when you do, you know, the planning for the 10, 20-year plan, maybe there should be like a cap on our growth. We don't really have a cap on our growth. Some cities do, but we have no cap. So maybe we need to look at that more when it comes to, this utility stuff. And the
Well,
water,
Eventually,
water.
people come and apply for, I wanna build this apartment building right here. Well, they have to come to the city and you have to give the blessing, like, yes, we can service you. But, if you start getting a little tight on capacity, you may have to, sorry, dude,
We're not quite there yet.
no, I'm just,
No,
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 but
I mean,
this is what,
Well, that-
10 years
yeah,
from
this
now.
is what she's
I
kind
think
of getting.
But that's the purpose of the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, make sure we
But
stand ahead of
It's the
it.
comprehensive plan really is right with you guys too.
That,
Well, it's because,
there comes the element of your plan is based on X, Y, and Z,
Mhm.
and then the legislature comes in and says, okay, X is now 3X, well, you're like, wait a minute, my plan was for X, Y, Z, not
Right.
X, Y, Z, and that's, and so, but it's like, sometimes it's just crystal ball when you do, because who knows, like, 10 years ago, we're looking at it and said, we're gonna have that COVID thing in 2020, so plan accordingly for that, So you can only do your best, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's back to Marty doing his best.
I was just waiting for Marty to move on to the next one.
All right, the last update we have is the SCADA network equipment. We have like an old portion of the plant, and a new portion of the plant. And there's two different systems. There's like the Allen Bradley system, which is just the control portion of the plant. It's kind of new. And then this old Modicon version of the plant. And how did I write it? These two systems don't work together and require two different support systems. They require like a type of relay to communicate to another one, and they require different, like I said, computer systems. And we plan to convert it all to run one system, Allen Bradley. It's the newest stuff. It's not 80s stuff, so it's getting harder to find parts, and a lot of it is the replacement parts we can find are the exact same thing. They're just this 80s type of stuff. So we plan to convert it. It'll save a lot of money in labor and additional control systems and software. And this will need to go to bid, and we haven't done it yet. Our IT guy just kind of got back in the office, and I've kind of been waiting for him to get back in. He did run one company through just a bid, to get a preliminary on cost, and so that's how I base the budget off that, is off what this company is. So we'll have to go out to bid for that one too, and I don't have any further updates on that one. And that's all the magic I got. If there's any questions on any of that stuff.
All right, marina pump station update.
Well, we're working on it. We've had, if anybody's had a chance to go down by there, it's obviously under construction. Had a huge challenge last week or week before last. We discovered that there was a huge thrust block right in the path of where we needed to move things. And of course, that's a force main. We can't take so they had a piece of equipment sitting on top of the force main while they were working on it, and finally realized the engineers decided that they could use mechanical joints as long as they to reroute. We had to reroute to get that thrust block out of the way. So it was a lot of challenge, and we thought for a while we were going to have to truck sewage, and we're looking at alternatives for that. And so now they're looking at a bypass pump and a rain for rent in order to get around so that they can take that out of service to move it. So yeah, but yeah, we were looking at, when we finally figured out how much, we were talking about holding back in all of our lift stations to let them, using the wet wells to hold back so that we could move the smallest amount of sewage that we could. And then, you know, predicting a rainstorm, I mean, the I would have put us, we were looking at, what was it? I think 70 trucks.
Yeah.
That we were gonna need in order to haul the sewage.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, but I think they've solved the problem now, so. But it's, we were talking about it at the council meeting last week, and it's kind of, it makes me think of Forrest Gump, you know, you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So when you start digging,
The discussion was the as-built.
yeah,
And previously, and we
Yeah.
saw this with Tremont, you know, the
Yeah.
as-built is not what you're finding when you get in there.
yeah,
And it's not surprising, but you kind of wish, you know, moving forward.
yeah.
Cause how old is that?
Oh, God.
How old is that marina?
The marina,
Yeah.
well, it was
it like?
the part that sticks out over the bay
Yeah.
was the original primary treatment. And the pump station pumped into that primary treatment. When the rules came along that said there was necessary to have secondary treatment is when the city partnered with West, or at that time it was Sewer 5 to, yeah, well, Jim knows this history, yeah, so.
Yeah, so anyway, just the way, it's the same age as the old part of the treatment plant, 85. So you basically, you know, and the problem is that nobody thinks about how fast both the city and the district is growing.
Yeah.
I mean, never thought we'd go from 85, we'd be doing another expansion in 2004. So, you know, it's the way it goes.
Growth Management Act came along too.
Yeah.
And that's what we're.
And so,
Yeah, the vacant lot that's on Bay and Frederick, that's where Kitsap, the original Kitsap Bank was, right there. I remember coming downtown with my mom and stopping at the only stoplight in Port Orchard at Bay and Sydney and being like, wow, look at that. And going through those doors, and they had the old bars with the tellers, you know, windows and stuff. But then that's 60 years ago.
Bars. Oh, that was at the bank.
Yeah, oh,
I had one item before we're going for next meeting. You want to go ahead, Jackie?
I'm curious about something I was thinking about this week. We're in the middle of updating our general sewer plan. And I'm sure that you guys have a general sewer plan. Is the plant a part of your plan, or does the plant have its own plan? Okay, so all of the capital project, because that's one of the things, is to get the capital projects through Department of Ecology approval through the planning process. So are these all on there, or is that?
So your general sewer plan should reference the plan. Just a quick summary.
It does, yes, yes.
That's it. There is money in the budget. I believe it's next couple of years to start the comprehensive plan for the New England plan. So
Okay. So just like a collection system, the plant as a treatment system has its own plan.
Yeah, one of the problems that the plant runs into is, when that plant was built, the O&M manual was very limiting. If you remember, this was pre-water conservation days.
Mhm.
So they never assumed that anything was gonna be offline or physically maintained.
Mhm.
So every time that one of the systems has to be partially taken down, since it's not covered in the O&M manual or the process manuals for the plant, we have to go approach ecology for permission to do this. It's a very cumbersome process.
Mhm.
There's very little discretion on the operation of the plant due to the very rudimentary type plan that they had provided. So when Marty and I started this, and then Marty and I talked about, one of the things we want to do is have a reassessment of the capacity of the plant along with a new O&M to allow for full operation of the plant.
Mhm.
We don't have that.
Okay.
And it can cost money because we don't have the ability to turn certain systems off. In the summertime, you're running everything just like you do in the winter.
Mhm, mhm.
And the way that ONM's written, we can do it for maintenance, but we cannot keep it off. And because of the ACART rules, all known and reasonable technologies, because it does have an NPR, if we turn portions of that conventional plant off, we lose the ability to reinitiate the process. So we're kind of stuck. So we're hoping that with a updated O&M manual and concurrence by ecology, we'll have the ability to have a little more flexibility in operation of that plant and not run up against those ACART rules for changes in hydraulics and those type of things based on seasonal flows and loadings.
So are you, now that the plant is doesn't have big loan payments and stuff, are you looking at doing a major general sewer plan with like this new O&M manuals and appendices or something?
Yeah, it's gonna be, I think it's in the budget for the next couple of years.
Okay.
Within the next couple of years, it's in that 20-year capital plan, that was money put in there.
Mhm.
Remember, and I think I've stated this many times, is when we look at that 20-year capital plan, we know pretty much what's happening next year, and it gets a little bit grayer the further out you get, you're kind of guessing on things. And one of the problems that we ran into, and I'm assuming the city's running into the same problem, even though you look at these compounded inflationary rates at about 22 to 27%, we're actually seeing 100 to 130% in costs, increase in cost for construction. And it's just.
Yes.
Control.
We're running into that now. When you get your engineer's estimates and you apply for money for something and, oh, I'm sorry, apply for money and then by the time you get the loan through and everything, you've got half the money that you needed.
Don't just print more.
Our government's doing.
You have to pull that sticker off of our copy machine that says it is illegal to print money.
It says that?
Yeah, we decided to think for that because it's such a good resolution. But we read it.
The veterans home that
I
happened.
didn't hear you say that.
They were printing money. One of the members was a member worker. He was printing money. And anyway, traced it back to the veterans home. Of course, the veterans home said they did not realize he was working unsupervised. Which I don't know how.
It's not the right kind of paper.
Well, I wasn't good
Must,
quality.
must be why they call
Yeah.
He was trying to do a drug deal.
Mm.
And
them. Like you do.
he was an old likable guy. I would have liked to visit him in prison, but I didn't, my office was right next to his, so I didn't want to go see him in prison because, but he was an Italian and he was amazing in some ways. I mean, he was a character.
Your honor.
Yeah.
Our, as a for instance, our well rehabs for rehabilitation of our wells has gone from anywhere from 40 to 70,000 up to over 200,000. And COVID is obviously part of it. Since COVID, you know, costs have gone up, inflation, materials.
And lead time,
Lead time, well, you heard some of those,
Mhm.
30 weeks, 50 weeks.
right? Yeah.
Well, we had to put off one project a whole year. For the water line. We could get the pipe, we just can't get the joints.
The fittings, yeah.
The fittings to
That's.
change direction.
Yeah, scum pit, no. Well, skimmers. Skimmers were pretty far out too. Those are one, pretty much the end of the year, you know.
Well, we know who to blame for anything at the plant, we just blame Marty.
So one of the things that
Not
I've
this morning, but-
been informed
Yeah.
that manufacturers do is they are not making on-shelf equipment anymore.
Yeah.
They wait until they have sufficient orders and then they bring people in and produce the order to
Mhm.
make 10,000 fittings or whatever.
Mhm.
They're not gonna just sit and have it.
Well, the power companies too, they don't have the wires sitting around the country. Like when we had that big storm in October of '62, they were dragging out of yards, out of different states. Well, those yards now don't have the wire, the transformers. Transformers are made in Japan or China, so that's real bright.
Any other info on the cities? All right. What do we have for the date, time, and place for next meeting?
I would suggest that we not have it at City Hall for foreseeable future. We're doing the renovation of City Hall and we're in the movable feast mode where offices in one place can move into another, so.
Is it all asbestos stuff? You know?
No, it's actually just an update from the City Hall 20 years ago, quite frankly, on the cheap and you know.
Maybe now, maybe.
Pay me now, pay me later, we're paying later, so it's fine.
Okay.
So if we could continue to have here, that would be great.
Or the plant, one or the other.
Yeah.
What, Marty, what do you have?
Yeah.
Do you have requirements, something that the plant we should just be? I mean, I guess I'll just speak for myself. I would assume that we're kind of at your. If you need us for some sort of things, you would take priority. You say, yeah, I need to meet with all you next month, or I need to see you for 3 months or ever.
So what do we
again.
got, March right now? We usually start working on budget, right, July-ish, June, July, and so maybe around that day. Right, maybe some.
I didn't hear you.
Court has a fixed revenue base based on ERU counts.
Mhm.
So,
So it's a fairly easy budget.
speculation.
Yeah, so what did it say, June something?
June.
Oh, not you.
June something.
Whatever you guys send out, I'll be there.
My son,
I'm gonna check out if that's okay. And whatever you guys send out, I will be there, okay?
One question before you do, Eric.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to talk a little bit with you guys about the tours you wanted, and just one quick question. Were you looking for one tour with a smattering of information about all three of the utilities? Or were you looking for individual tours of each of the utilities? Because I could go on all day about just one of them. So I just want to know what level you guys want.
When are we thinking about doing it? That makes a difference.
Well, I was trying to put it together for probably the middle of April.
I'm good for one long meeting, but
Okay.
I don't think, I mean, you see one lateral, one well, I think we're pretty good, you know?
Okay,
Something like that. You see one lift station, you saw enough, you know, type thing.
yep, okay. All right, just needed your opinion. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. See you guys later. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
are they kind of all, or
They're-
they all operate the same?
They kind of
There,
combination.
yeah, there's like this set, there's this size, and then there's this set, as far as the lift stations go. You know, there's different sizes. Yeah,
Okay, we usually set a meeting on the third
Like.
It's
third
been Wednesdays in the
Wednesday or
past.
something.
Okay.
or second, whatever
Third
works.
Wednesdays are land use meeting and Eric and I are both on land use.
Okay, we-
30.
We can make it a second.
Yeah, just like, you know,
So the second
Wednesday
Wednesday is the 12th
of
of June.
June. Sure.
Typically, we have SAC meetings on Tuesdays.
Tuesdays is our,
Wednesdays have been in the
I thought it was
past, Randy.
Wednesdays.
It's been Wednesdays, yeah.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. So the
Yeah,
12th.
Tuesdays is their night to do city council.
except for the first,
Yeah.
except for the first Tuesday.
So are we thinking like night again, or is this today's Tuesday?
I would
Yeah.
get in the afternoon.
It's fine.
Yeah, Dennis is trying to do afternoon meetings as much as possible.
Does 3 o'clock work for everybody? Works for
Yeah.
me. May show up at work close a bit.
3 o'clock on the 12th then, was that?
Yeah.
Wednesday or Tuesday?
Or
Is that a Tuesday or?
that's a Wednesday.
You wanna do Tuesday? Doesn't matter.
I don't
Yeah,
care,
I
whatever
don't-
works for you guys.
On 6/11 then.
6/11, 3 PM,
Yeah, that's Tuesday, right?
that's Tuesday. Yeah, we'll just have a meeting and a break like we're doing now. Our next meeting,
So 3 p.m. Tuesday, 6/11.
6/11. Cool.
Do you guys want to close the meeting and I'll stop the recording?
Any other concerns, questions?
Yeah, I had, my one question was, and this is probably, I hope everybody says no, I just didn't know if there was any updates from the end of the legislative session, any surprises that we had heard. It seemed like this session was pretty, not innocuous, but you know, it was very short on anything major, so I didn't know if anything had rolled down. You know.
I haven't read the report yet.
Okay. Okay, if something comes out, just let us know, but if you guys get something, you know, we're in the middle of comprehensive plan right now, so. Give that update. Cool.
Not only the city's comprehensive plan, but also a general sewer plan and a water system plan.
I move for adjournment.
All in favor?